All right, so you're getting ready for a civil enforcement officer interview.
That's great.
We're going to help you stand out.
And really impress.
We've got a ton of RoleCatcher resources to help you do that.
Awesome.
So what are some things that people might not realize about being a civil enforcement officer?
Well, I think one thing that people don't always realize is that it can be very nuanced.
Okay.
So while maintaining traffic flow and enforcing parking regulations is a key part of the job,
Hmm.
the career guide emphasizes that civil enforcement officers also play a vital role in community policing and crime deterrence.
So it's not just about handing out those tickets.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
about being that visible presence that helps keep neighborhoods safe.
Yeah, and that's something you can definitely highlight in your interview.
Oh, for sure.
Another interesting insight is the variety of environments you might work in.
Uh.
Urban, suburban, even rural areas, each with its own unique set of challenges.
Absolutely. Especially when they ask about your experience handling different situations.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's dive into some of those interview questions.
Awesome.
RoleCatcher has put together this database of over 120,000 practice questions tailored for civil enforcement officer roles.
It's pretty incredible.
I know.
And you can actually use their AI to analyze job descriptions to see which skills they're emphasizing
Yeah.
and make sure your answers hit those points.
I like that.
They also have AI feedback on your practice answers, and you can even do mock video interviews, which can really help you refine your delivery.
It's like having a secret weapon
Right.
for your interview prep.
Exactly.
Okay, so first question. What inspired you to pursue a career as a civil enforcement officer?
All right.
It seems simple, but what are they really getting at here?
Yeah, they're looking for genuine passion and a clear understanding of the role.
Okay.
It's your chance to demonstrate that you've done your homework and you're not just applying for any job that comes along.
Yeah, you're not just looking for a paycheck.
Mm.
So more than just, I like helping people,
Yeah.
we need to dig a little deeper.
Think about what truly drew you to this field.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the opportunity to make a positive impact on your community? A sense of duty? A desire to uphold fairness? Connect your personal motivations to the core duties of a civil enforcement officer.
So for instance, if someone is drawn to maintaining order, they could say, I'm inspired by the idea of ensuring that everyone plays by the rules so our community can function smoothly and safely.
Perfect. And be prepared for follow-up questions.
Okay.
They might ask you to elaborate on a specific experience that showcases your commitment to public service or a time when you had to handle a difficult situation involving the public.
So have those stories ready.
Yes.
Okay, next question. How do you stay up to date with the latest legislation and regulations related to the civil enforcement officer role?
Right.
I'm betting there's more to it than just saying, I read the news.
Absolutely.
So how can we really impress with this one?
Be specific. Mention actual sources like professional journals, industry websites, government publications that provide updates on legislation and regulations.
So you're showing them that you are proactively seeking out that information.
Exactly.
Okay,
You could even mention attending relevant training programs or workshops.
perfect. And the RoleCatcher career guides, they emphasize that attending those types of events can open doors for a career advancement.
Yeah,
So moving into those supervisory roles or those specialized units.
exactly.
Okay. Now, for staying up to date, what kind of follow-up questions should we anticipate?
They might ask about a recent change in legislation that you found particularly important or how you would go about implementing a new policy within your team.
So it's not just about knowing the rules, but about how to apply them.
Exactly.
Okay, here's one that feels a little more intense.
Okay.
How do you handle difficult or confrontational situations, such as dealing with a hostile individual during an enforcement action?
All right, so this one goes straight to the heart of conflict resolution and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
Stay cool.
Right? Civil enforcement officers often face challenging interactions, so demonstrating that you can manage them effectively and professionally is crucial.
So it's not just what you do, it's how you do it.
Exactly.
So how do we approach this one?
Use the STAR method:
Okay,
situation, task, action, result.
got it.
Describe a specific situation where you faced a challenging individual, the task at hand, the actions you took to de-escalate the situation, and the positive outcome you achieved.
So for instance, if you had to explain a parking violation to someone who was very upset,
Yeah.
but you managed to keep things from escalating, that would be a good example.
Exactly. And to really make your answer stand out, connect it back to RoleCatcher's insights.
Okay.
One of the core skills they highlight is applying knowledge of human behavior.
Okay.
So you could mention how you used your understanding of human behavior to de-escalate the situation.
I like that it shows that you're thinking about the job in a more nuanced way.
Right.
What about potential follow-up questions for this one?
They might ask, have you ever had to de-escalate a situation involving physical aggression?
Oh, wow.
Or what steps would you take if you felt threatened while on duty?
Okay.
These questions are designed to assess your judgment and ability to prioritize safety.
So be prepared to discuss those tougher scenarios.
Yes.
This next question feels like a balancing act.
Okay.
How do you balance the need to enforce regulations with being compassionate and sensitive to individuals who may be struggling financially or emotionally?
Yeah, it definitely is.
A tough one.
This digs into your ability to be both firm and fair, recognizing that everyone has a story and sometimes people make mistakes, especially when facing difficult circumstances.
So how do we strike that balance in our answer?
Honesty is key.
Okay.
Acknowledge that finding this balance can be challenging, but emphasize your commitment to enforcing regulations fairly and consistently. You can also mention that you're aware that people's circumstances can vary, and you would always strive to treat everyone with respect and understanding.
That makes sense, and maybe offer a specific example.
Absolutely. Maybe a time when you had to use your discretion, like deciding not to issue a ticket because someone had a genuinely extenuating circumstance. You could even mention that you always make sure to explain the situation clearly to the individual, ensuring they understand your reasoning.
Right.
Transparency is key.
And that actually highlights a point from the RoleCatcher overview, the opportunity to make a positive impact on the community.
Yeah.
Even when enforcing regulations, you can still aim for a positive interaction.
Exactly. Now, as for potential follow-up questions, they might ask about specific policies or guidelines that inform your decision-making in these situations, or how you would handle someone clearly trying to take advantage of your compassion.
So be prepared to discuss those boundaries and how you maintain that professionalism while still showing empathy. Can you describe your experience working with diverse communities and populations?
This question assesses your cultural sensitivity, your communication skills, and your ability to build rapport with people from diverse backgrounds.
So how can we really showcase our ability to connect with different communities?
Focus on specific examples that demonstrate your effectiveness in working with diverse populations.
Okay.
Perhaps you volunteered in a multicultural setting, or maybe your previous job required you to interact with people from various backgrounds. Describe the challenges you faced and how you overcame them.
And if someone hasn't had that type of experience, what can they do?
They can talk about their understanding of the importance of cultural sensitivity and how they would approach learning about the specific needs of the community they'd be serving.
Okay.
They could also mention their willingness to attend diversity training and their commitment to treating everyone with respect regardless of their background.
That's a great point. It shows a willingness to learn and adapt. Now, before we move on to the next set of questions, I wanted to touch on something we briefly mentioned earlier, RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like such a powerful tool
It is.
for interview preparation.
It really is. And beyond analyzing job descriptions, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answers for maximum impact.
Okay.
For example, let's say the job description emphasizes community engagement and building trust. The AI would pick up on those keywords and suggest ways to incorporate them into your answers.
So it's like having a personal coach helping you craft those responses that resonate with that specific employer.
Precisely. And don't forget about their mock video interview feature.
Right.
You can practice your answers, get AI feedback on your delivery, and even identify any nervous habits that might be holding you back.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
It takes all the guesswork out of it.
It does.
And allows you to focus on showcasing your best self. Okay, let's get back to those questions. How do you prioritize and manage your workload as a civil enforcement officer?
All right, this question targets your organizational skills, time management abilities, and your capacity to juggle multiple tasks effectively.
Work smarter, not harder.
Right. A civil enforcement officer's day can be very dynamic,
Yeah.
requiring a lot of on-the-spot prioritization.
Makes sense. So what are some strategies we can highlight in our answer?
You can discuss specific techniques you use to stay organized, like using a planner, a to-do list app,
Mm-hmm.
or even breaking down large tasks into smaller, manageable steps.
And connecting it back to the actual job.
Absolutely. Talk about how you prioritize tasks like responding to incidents, patrolling assigned areas,
Yeah.
issuing citations, directing traffic, all those core responsibilities.
And maybe even use that STAR method to describe a time you successfully managed a heavy workload or juggled those competing priorities.
Exactly. It brings those skills to life and shows the interviewer you can handle the demands of the job. And remember, RoleCatcher's career guides offer insights into the typical workload and challenges which you can use to make your answer even stronger.
Great point. All right, let's move on to another question that really focuses on those interpersonal skills.
Okay.
Can you describe your experience with conflict resolution in negotiation?
Absolutely. This question assesses your ability to de-escalate tense situations, find common ground,
Mm-hmm.
and reach mutually agreeable solutions, all while remaining professional and respectful.
So it's not about winning an argument, but about finding that resolution
Exactly.
that works for everyone involved.
When answering this question, use the STAR method again.
Great.
Describe a specific situation where you successfully resolved a conflict or negotiated an agreement, focusing on the steps you took to understand everyone's perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Find areas of agreement and reach a fair and reasonable solution.
So, for example, if you mediated a dispute between neighbors over a parking issue,
Yeah,
that could be a great situation to describe.
precisely. And remember to highlight the specific skills you used, like active listening, empathy, clear communication,
Right.
and problem solving.
And even situations from our personal life can be relevant
Right.
if they showcase those skills.
Exactly like resolving a disagreement with a friend or family member.
And I'm guessing RoleCatcher's AI can help us identify
Oh, yeah.
those specific keywords from the job description to tailor our answer even further.
Absolutely. It can point out phrases related to conflict resolution and negotiation, ensuring your response aligns with the employer's expectations.
Very cool.
Now let's shift gears to a question that focuses on your commitment to following procedures.
Okay.
How do you ensure that you are following all relevant regulations and guidelines in your work as a civil enforcement officer?
So while this one might seem straightforward,
Yeah.
it's really about showcasing our integrity,
Mm-hmm.
our attention to detail, and our dedication to ethical conduct.
It's about demonstrating that you're a reliable and trustworthy professional who takes their responsibilities seriously.
So what's the best way to approach this question?
Okay.
Describe the systems and processes you use to stay informed about current regulations and guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you attend regular training sessions, review policy manuals,
Okay.
or use technology to access up-to-date information in the field.
So showing that proactive approach to staying informed.
Exactly.
And don't forget to emphasize our commitment to accuracy and our meticulousness in following procedures.
Great point. You could even mention using a checklist or a digital tool to track relevant information,
Mm-hmm.
showcasing your dedication to doing things by the book.
And speaking of knowing the rules, this ties back to those core knowledge areas highlighted in RoleCatcher's Career Guide.
Yeah.
Law enforcement procedures, local geography parking regulations, and road traffic laws.
Absolutely.
Having that solid foundation of knowledge is essential.
It is. And if you're feeling unsure about any specific area, RoleCatcher's AI can identify those knowledge gaps and suggest resources to help you fill them. Very helpful. Okay, let's move on to a question that assesses our decision-making skills. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision in your role as a civil enforcement officer?
All right, so the interviewer wants to see that you can make tough calls under pressure, weigh competing priorities,
Okay.
and ultimately make a decision that aligns with both your ethical principles and the best interests of the community.
So it's about showing that we can use our judgment and discretion,
Exactly.
not just blindly following the rules.
Precisely when answering this question, choose a situation that highlights your ability to assess risks, consider the potential consequences of your actions,
Okay.
and ultimately make a decision you can stand behind.
Now, this question also ties into one of the cons mentioned in RoleCatcher's Career Guide, dealing with those difficult or confrontational individuals.
You're exactly right.
Sometimes those encounters require us to make those tough decisions on the spot.
Those situations often test your ability to balance firmness with empathy and make the best possible choice in the heat of the moment.
So if we were to describe a situation where we had to choose between issuing a citation and showing leniency,
Yeah.
we should clearly explain our thought process, the factors we considered, and the rationale behind our final decision.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to discuss a time when you made a mistake.
Okay.
Everyone makes mistakes, but what matters is how you learn from them and grow as a professional.
That's a great point. Owning our mistakes and highlighting what we learned shows maturity and self-awareness.
Right.
Now, before we delve into more questions, I wanted to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's AI-powered feedback.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like such a valuable resource,
It is.
especially for a question like this where our delivery and our tone of voice can make such a big impact.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your practice answers and video recordings,
Okay.
providing feedback on your tone, body language, and the overall clarity of your message.
Wow.
It can even pinpoint any nervous habits or distracting mannerisms that might be holding you back.
So it's like having a personal coach
Yeah,
help us refine our presentation skills,
precisely.
which is incredibly helpful for those of us who might get a little nervous during interviews.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to those questions. Can you describe your experience with data analysis and reporting in your role as a civil enforcement officer?
All right, so data analysis might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think about this job,
Yeah, not necessarily.
but it's becoming increasingly important in almost every field, including law enforcement.
Okay.
Law enforcement agencies are using data to inform their strategies, measure their effectiveness, and identify areas for improvement.
So even if it's not explicitly mentioned in the job description,
Right.
highlighting our data analysis skills can be a huge advantage.
Absolutely. When answering this question, be prepared to discuss your experience with collecting, analyzing, and reporting data related to your work, even if it's from a previous role.
And if we don't have a lot of direct experience with data analysis, what can we do?
You can still talk about your general comfort level with technology and your willingness to learn new skills.
Okay.
You could mention your experience with using spreadsheets, databases, or even just your ability to track information and identify trends.
That's great advice. And don't forget to connect our answer back to the role of a civil enforcement officer.
Right. Talk about how you could use data to identify parking enforcement hotspots, track traffic patterns, analyze crime trends to inform patrol strategies,
Okay.
or measure the effectiveness of different enforcement approaches.
Excellent points. And RoleCatcher's AI can help us identify those specific examples from our experience
Yeah,
that demonstrate those data analysis skills.
exactly.
Okay, let's dive into another scenario-based question.
Okay.
Tell me about a time you had to deal with a member of the public who was upset or angry. How did you handle the situation?
All right, so this one goes right to the heart of those challenging interpersonal interactions
Okay.
that are bound to come up in this line of work.
So it's all about showcasing those conflict resolution skills,
Right.
our ability to remain calm and professional under pressure,
Exactly.
and our dedication to providing that excellent customer service, even in those difficult circumstances.
Precisely when answering this question, choose a specific situation that demonstrates your ability to empathize with the person's frustration, communicate clearly and calmly,
Okay.
and find a resolution that addresses their concerns while still upholding the law.
So it's about finding that delicate balance between empathy and enforcement.
Exactly.
What are some specific techniques we could mention using in this situation?
Active listening, paraphrasing, validating the person's emotions,
Yeah.
and offering alternative solutions are all great examples.
And we could also mention how we followed established procedures for handling complaints.
Yeah.
Or sought guidance from a supervisor if the situation escalated.
Absolutely. And remember, RoleCatcher's career guides provide insights into the types of challenging encounters civil enforcement officers often face, which can help you brainstorm relevant examples from your own experience.
Great point. All right, let's shift gears to a question that focuses on our commitment to personal growth and professional development. How do you stay up to date with the latest changes in laws and regulations related to your work?
This one demonstrates that you're proactive, dedicated to continuous learning, and committed to staying ahead of the curve in a field that is constantly evolving.
Absolutely. So it shows that we're not content with just knowing the basics,
Yeah.
but that we're actively seeking out ways to improve our knowledge and our skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to impress with your answer?
Well, how can we impress them?
Be specific. Mention actual sources of information you consult regularly, like professional journals, industry websites,
Okay.
government publications, or training programs offered by your employer or professional organizations.
And don't just list those sources. Describe how we use that information to inform our work, improve our skills, and ensure we're always operating within that most current legal framework.
Great point. You could even mention a specific instance where you learned about a new law or regulation and
Okay.
how you implemented that knowledge into your daily routine.
That's a fantastic way to show that we're dedicated to staying current.
Right.
And speaking of staying current, RoleCatcher's career guides
Hmm.
and their AI tools
Yeah.
can be such valuable resources for keeping up with the latest industry trends,
Right.
those legal updates, and those professional development opportunities.
Absolutely. You can even use their AI to track your progress and identify areas where you might need additional training or education to remain at the top of your game.
Okay, so are you ready for another scenario-based question?
Hit me with it.
Okay, here we go. Imagine you're patrolling your assigned area, and you come across a situation where a vehicle is blocking a fire hydrant. However, there are no other parking spaces available in the immediate vicinity. How would you handle this situation?
All right. This scenario presents a common challenge for civil enforcement officers, balancing the need to enforce regulations with the practical realities of a given situation.
All right, so it's about demonstrating that we can critically assess those risks and benefits of different options and ultimately make a decision that is both legally sound and practical.
Exactly. When answering this question, walk the interviewer through your thought process.
Okay.
Explain how you would first assess the situation
Mhm.
to determine the severity of the violation and the potential risks involved.
You can mention checking for any signs of an emergency
Absolutely.
or a hazard that might require immediate action.
Exactly. And then you could explain how you would attempt to locate the driver,
Okay.
perhaps by checking nearby businesses or making an announcement over your loudspeaker.
And if we can't find the driver,
Then you would describe how you would issue a citation and potentially have the vehicle towed, but only after carefully considering the potential consequences and ensuring that you are following established procedures.
right? So it's crucial to demonstrate that we understand the importance of following those rules and maintaining a fair and consistent approach to enforcement. What are the different types of parking permits that are issued in this city, and what are the restrictions associated with each permit?
So this one seems pretty straightforward,
It does.
but it's designed to assess your familiarity with local laws and your attention to detail.
So we've got to do our research.
Absolutely. Check the city's website or contact the Parking Enforcement Department to get a list of the different permit types and their associated restrictions.
And then when answering the question, be clear and concise.
Exactly.
List the permits, briefly describe their purpose, and highlight any key restrictions or time limits.
And what if you're unsure about a particular permit?
That's a good question.
It's always better to admit you need to look something up than to try to bluff your way through it.
Right?
Honesty and a willingness to learn are always appreciated.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can come in handy again.
Absolutely.
We can create that personalized study guide that includes all that information
Yes.
on the local parking regulations.
Exactly.
So we can go in feeling confident and prepared.
All right, let's move on to a question that assesses your ability to work as part of a team. Describe a time when you had to work effectively with a team to achieve a common goal.
Teamwork is so essential in this job,
It is.
especially in law enforcement, where we're constantly collaborating with other agencies, city officials, and community members.
Absolutely.
So how can we effectively demonstrate our teamwork skills in our answer?
Choose a situation that highlights your ability to communicate, openly listen to the perspectives of others,
Okay.
delegate tasks effectively, and work collaboratively to find solutions.
And it doesn't have to be from a law enforcement context.
Not at all.
Right.
It could be from a volunteer experience, a school project, or even playing on a sports team.
Yeah.
The key is to showcase those skills that are essential for effective teamwork, regardless of the setting.
So things like clear communication, active listening,
Right.
conflict resolution,
Exactly.
a willingness to share credit and support our teammates.
Those are all valuable qualities that any employer would be looking for.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help us pinpoint
Oh, yeah.
those specific examples from our experience that demonstrate these skills.
Absolutely. It can also suggest ways to tailor your answer to the specific team-oriented keywords and phrases mentioned in the job description,
Okay.
ensuring your response aligns with the employer's expectations.
How do you see the role of a civil enforcement officer contributing to the overall safety and well-being of the community?
This one goes beyond simply enforcing rules and asks you to consider the broader impact of your work.
So it's about showing that we see ourselves as more than just a rule enforcer, but also as a public servant dedicated to making a positive difference in the lives of the people that we serve.
You've got it. When answering this question, talk about how your work contributes to things like reducing traffic congestion,
Yep.
improving pedestrian safety, deterring crime, and fostering a sense of order and respect for the law.
We could also talk about how we see ourselves as an ambassador for the city, representing those values of fairness, professionalism, and community engagement.
Exactly. It's about showcasing your understanding of the role's broader impact and your commitment to making a positive contribution to the community.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's career guides often provide those valuable insights into the mission and the values of typical civil enforcement agencies.
Absolutely.
Aligning our answer with those values can make a big difference.
It shows you've done your research and that you're genuinely invested in the role and the organization.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I wanted to highlight one more aspect of RoleCatcher's AI that we haven't discussed yet. Their Career Compass feature.
Ah, yes, the Career Compass.
It's such a fantastic tool.
It is.
For anyone thinking about their long-term career trajectory.
Absolutely.
It helps us map out those potential career paths, not just for the civil enforcement officer role, but for our future aspirations as well. So having that forward-thinking approach can be so valuable, especially when they ask about our career goals.
Absolutely. It shows you're not just looking for a job, but you're thinking about building a fulfilling and successful career within the field.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've explored some of those most common interview questions, discussed effective strategies for answering them, and we've highlighted how RoleCatcher's AI can help us prepare and really stand out.
Absolutely.
We're not done yet.
We're not done yet. We've got more to come, so stay tuned.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay, so are you ready for some more interview questions?
Yeah, let's jump right back in.
Okay, imagine you're in the interview and they ask you this. Imagine you are patrolling your assigned area and you come across a group of young people who are loitering and vandalizing public property. How would you approach this situation?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
It is.
Especially because it involves those minors. And we need to find that balance of enforcing the law while also maybe acting as a mentor.
Absolutely.
What are some key things we should keep in mind when answering this question?
Well, the interviewer is going to be looking to see that you can handle a potentially volatile situation, especially when it involves young people, and that you can do that while remaining professional and ensuring everyone's safety.
So we need to convey our ability to de-escalate, enforce the law when necessary, and even act as a positive influence.
Exactly.
So should we walk them through our thought process step by step?
I think that's a great approach.
Okay.
Start by explaining how you would assess the situation, taking note of the severity of the vandalism, the number of individuals involved, and any potential risks to yourself or others.
We want to make sure that we're safe.
Absolutely, and emphasize staying calm. And approaching the group respectfully. Make sure they understand your role and why you're there.
It's important to identify ourselves as a civil enforcement officer.
Yes, and then you can explain how you would try to engage with those young people in a positive and non-confrontational way.
So maybe start by asking them about their day or how they're doing.
Exactly. Try to establish rapport before jumping straight into enforcement mode. If they're responsive, you could use that as an opportunity to educate them about vandalism and encourage them to find more constructive ways to spend their time.
So this really ties back to that community policing aspect that we talked about earlier. It's about being more than just an enforcer, but also a positive influence.
Exactly. But you also need to be prepared for situations where the young people might not be receptive.
Okay, so what should we do if the situation starts to escalate or those individuals become uncooperative?
In those cases, it's all about safety. So you want to explain that you would call for backup, maintain a safe distance, and follow those established procedures for dealing with potentially hostile individuals.
Safety first. What are the different types of parking permits that are issued in this city, and what are the restrictions associated with each permit?
Okay, so this question is about preparedness and attention to detail. The interviewer wants to know that you've taken the time to familiarize yourself with those specific regulations that you're going to be enforcing.
So research is key.
Absolutely. Check the city's website, contact the parking enforcement department, get that comprehensive list, the different types of permits and their restrictions.
And be clear and concise when we're answering the question.
List the permits, describe their purpose, and any key restrictions or time limits.
And What if we're not sure about a specific permit?
It's always better to admit you need to look something up than to try and bluff your way through it.
Right.
Honesty and a willingness to learn are valuable.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI is so helpful.
It is.
We can create that personalized study guide
Exactly.
that includes all of that information on the local parking regulations.
Yeah.
So we can walk into that interview feeling prepared.
All right, let's move on to another question.
Okay.
That really emphasizes teamwork.
Teamwork is so important.
It is.
In so many jobs.
Right.
But especially in law enforcement, where we're always collaborating with other agencies.
Yes.
City officials and community members.
Absolutely.
Describe a time when you had to work effectively with a team to achieve a common goal.
Okay, so choose a situation that really highlights your ability to communicate openly.
Yeah.
Listen to the perspectives of others, delegate tasks effectively, and work collaboratively to find solutions.
And it doesn't have to be from a law enforcement background.
Not at all.
Right.
It could be from volunteer work, a school project, even a sports team.
Absolutely.
The key is to showcase those skills that are essential for teamwork.
Right. Those core skills like clear communication,
Yes.
active listening, conflict resolution,
Right.
a willingness to share credit and support our teammates.
Those are all incredibly valuable, and any employer would be looking for that.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help us
Yes.
pinpoint those specific examples from our experience that demonstrate those skills.
It can also suggest ways to tailor your answer to the specific team-oriented keywords and phrases mentioned in the job description.
How do you see the role of a civil enforcement officer contributing to the overall safety and well-being of the community?
This one goes beyond just enforcing the rules.
Okay.
It asks you to consider the bigger picture.
Right. We need to show that we're not just focused on issuing citations,
Yeah.
but that we're also invested in improving the lives of the people that we serve.
Exactly. So when answering this question, talk about how your work contributes to reducing traffic congestion,
Okay.
improving pedestrian safety, deterring crime, and fostering that sense of order and respect for the law.
We could also talk about how we see ourselves as an ambassador for the city,
Absolutely.
representing those values of fairness,
Yeah.
professionalism, and community engagement.
It's about showing you understand the impact of the role and that you're committed to making a positive contribution.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's career guides often provide those valuable insights into the mission and values
Yeah, absolutely.
of typical civil enforcement agencies.
Aligning your answer with those values can make a big difference.
Okay.
It shows you've done your research and that you're invested in the role and in the organization.
Now let's move on to a question that often trips people up.
Yeah.
What are your salary expectations for this role?
The salary question.
Yeah,
It can be tough.
especially if we're not sure what the going rate is.
Right. So first and foremost, do your research.
Okay.
Use websites like Glassdoor, Indeed, or Salary.com to get a sense of that average salary range
Okay.
and take into account factors like your experience level and location.
And I'm guessing that RoleCatcher provides some salary insights.
They do. They usually include that in their career guides.
Awesome. So once we have a general idea of that salary range,
Yeah.
what's the best way to answer the question?
Well, instead of giving a specific number, you might consider providing a salary range
Okay.
that aligns with your research and your experience.
Okay.
You could say something like, based on my research and my understanding of this role, I would expect a salary in the range of blank to blank.
So we're giving them a range,
Yeah.
but we're also showing that we've done our research.
Exactly. And be prepared to discuss your qualifications in relation to your salary expectations.
Right.
The interviewer wants to make sure your expectations are reasonable.
That makes sense. What if they ask about our previous salary?
That can be tricky.
Yeah.
You don't want to undersell yourself or create any awkwardness.
Right.
If you're comfortable disclosing your previous salary, you can.
Okay.
But if you prefer not to, you can politely decline and redirect the conversation back to your expectations for this role.
So it's ultimately our choice.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your long-term career goals?
So this question is all about demonstrating your ambition, your vision for the future, and your willingness to invest in your professional growth.
So it's about showing them that we're thinking ahead
Right.
and we have a plan for our career.
When answering this question, be honest and realistic. Talk about your aspirations for growth within law enforcement.
Yeah.
Maybe mention specific roles or areas of specialization that you might be interested in pursuing.
And this is where that RoleCatcher Career Compass feature can be so helpful.
It allows you to explore different career paths,
Okay.
identify those advancement opportunities, and even create a personalized roadmap.
So we can show the interviewer that we're not just looking for a job,
Right.
that we're committed to building that successful and fulfilling career.
Exactly.
Imagine you are patrolling your assigned area
Hmm.
and you encounter a situation involving a homeless individual who is sleeping in a public park. How would you approach this situation?
This question is designed to assess your empathy, your understanding of social issues,
Okay.
and your ability to balance law enforcement with compassion and community outreach.
So it's a reminder that as a civil enforcement officer, we're going to encounter individuals from all walks of life
Exactly.
facing a wide range of challenges.
When answering this question, you want to start by acknowledging the complexity of homelessness
Okay.
and the importance of treating everyone with dignity and respect.
Showing that sensitivity and
Yeah.
understanding.
Explain that you would approach the individual calmly,
Hmm.
respectfully introducing yourself, and inquiring about their well-being.
And maybe even ask if they need any immediate assistance,
Absolutely.
like food, water, medical attention.
That shows you're not just focused on enforcing the rules, but you're genuinely concerned
Right.
about that individual's welfare.
And what if that individual was violating a city ordinance,
Yeah.
like sleeping in a public park after hours?
You would explain the ordinance clearly and calmly,
Okay.
emphasizing that you're not there to punish them, but to ensure the safety of everyone in the community.
And we could offer information about local resources and
Yes,
services
exactly.
that could help them find shelter or food or other support.
It shows you're not just an enforcer, but also a resource
Okay.
and a potential advocate for those in need.
Now, before we move on to the next question,
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to something that we've touched on throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay.
The power of RoleCatcher's AI.
It's amazing what they offer.
I know, it seems like those tools can really make a difference when it comes to interview prep.
They can. It's like having a personal coach and a research assistant all rolled into one.
I know.
From analyzing those job descriptions and tailoring your answers to providing feedback on your delivery and even offering those career planning resources.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's AI can really elevate your preparation.
And the best part is they offer a free version of their platform.
They do.
So anyone can access these tools and really give themselves an edge.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get back to those questions.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time you had to go above and beyond the call of duty to help someone.
So this is your chance to show your dedication,
Okay.
your willingness to go the extra mile, and your commitment to providing that exceptional service.
Yeah.
Remember, civil enforcement officers are often the first point of contact for people who need help.
Right.
So showing that you're willing to go above and beyond can really make a difference.
What kind of situation would be a good example for this?
Choose a time when you went out of your way to help someone.
Okay.
It could be a coworker, a customer, a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be anything dramatic.
Right.
Just focus on the actions that you took,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges that you faced,
Yeah.
and that positive outcome that you achieved.
So maybe we helped a lost tourist find their way,
Yeah.
or calmed down a distressed citizen,
Mm-hmm.
assisted someone with a disability.
Those are all great examples.
And remember, we can connect our answers back to those RoleCatcher resources.
Always a good idea.
Their career guides highlight the importance of community engagement and customer service,
Mm-hmm.
which can help us frame our response in a way that resonates with the interviewer.
Okay, are you ready for another one?
I think so.
Tell me about a time you received negative feedback. How did you respond?
That's a tough one.
It is.
But it's all about showing our maturity,
Yeah.
our professionalism,
Mhm.
and our willingness to learn and grow.
Exactly. The interviewer wants to see that you can handle criticism constructively.
Right, not get defensive or discouraged.
So you want to showcase your ability to turn that negative feedback into a positive learning experience.
So when we're answering this question,
Mm-hmm.
we should choose a specific situation where we received feedback that was tough to hear,
Yes.
but it ultimately helped us improve.
And avoid bad-mouthing the person who gave you the feedback.
Right.
Focus on the feedback itself, how you processed it,
Okay.
and what steps you took to address the concerns.
And we could even mention that we sought clarification
Yeah.
or additional guidance to make sure we understood the feedback
That's a great point.
and could implement it effectively.
And RoleCatcher's AI can help you identify those specific examples that show your ability to handle criticism constructively.
Imagine you are patrolling your assigned area and you come across a vehicle that is parked illegally in a handicapped parking space. However, the driver is nowhere to be found. How would you handle this situation?
Okay, this scenario tests your knowledge of regulations, your ability to assess the situation,
Right.
and your commitment to enforcing the law fairly and consistently.
So we need to show that we can follow those procedures, but also exercise discretion when necessary.
Exactly.
So walk the interviewer through our thought process step by step.
Explain how you would first verify that the vehicle was parked illegally. Check for any placards or permits.
And check for signs of an emergency or a medical condition.
Exactly, and then you could explain how you'd try to locate the driver.
Okay.
Maybe check nearby businesses or make an announcement.
And if we can't find the driver,
then you would explain that you would issue a citation and maybe have the vehicle towed, but only after documenting everything and making sure you're following procedures.
so we're showing that we understand the importance of following the rules.
Yes.
And maintaining that fair and consistent approach.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this section,
Yes.
I want to mention one more thing.
Okay.
RoleCatcher has a mock video interview feature.
Oh, that's right.
It's a great way to get comfortable with the interview format and practice your answers.
Okay.
You can record yourself answering questions,
Okay.
get that AI-powered feedback on your delivery,
Right.
and identify any nervous habits that you might have.
It's like having a personal coach,
It is.
helping us refine those presentation skills and boost our confidence.
Exactly. And by practicing with the AI, you can go into that interview feeling prepared and confident.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Explored those interview questions, talked about strategies,
Yes.
highlighted RoleCatcher's AI, but we're not quite done yet.
We're not done yet. There's still more to come, so stay with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of those common questions that you might get
Yeah, we've covered a ton.
and some strategies for how to answer them. But as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what are some final pieces of advice that you would give to someone prepping for a civil enforcement officer interview?
Well, I think it all comes back to preparation and authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about using those RoleCatcher resources to
Right.
really understand the role,
Absolutely.
understand the challenges, understand that specific community that you would be serving.
Yeah, showing that you've really done your homework
Exactly.
makes a big difference.
It's like you said, it's not just about any job. It's about this job
Right.
in this place.
And on top of that, be yourself.
Okay.
Let your passion and your enthusiasm for public service shine through.
Because at the end of the day, they're not just looking for someone who can answer those questions.
No.
They're looking for someone who's a good fit
Right.
for the team and for the community.
Exactly. And beyond preparation, there are a few practical things to keep in mind. Like those first few minutes of the interview.
Oh, yeah. First impressions are everything.
They are so you want to arrive on time, dressed professionally, and project confidence. A firm handshake,
Okay.
a genuine smile, eye contact. Those things really do matter.
It shows that we're taking it seriously
Yeah,
and that we're excited
Well-
to be there.
exactly. And don't be afraid to ask a few questions of your own. That
Understood.
shows you're engaged and interested.
Absolutely. But we should
Jackie.
think beyond those basic questions. You know,
Yeah.
instead of asking about salary or benefits,
Yeah.
maybe ask about some specific initiatives that the department is working on or community outreach programs.
Yeah, or how they're using technology to improve their services.
So it's about showing that we've done our research and we're thinking about that bigger picture.
Exactly.
Okay, now interviews can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any advice for managing those pre-interview jitters?
Well, nerves are normal. Everyone gets them. The key is to channel that nervous energy into positive enthusiasm.
Okay.
You've made it this far in the process.
Mhm.
They obviously see something in you.
Right.
So this is your chance to really showcase your passion
Okay.
and your commitment to making a difference.
I like that reframing those nerves as excitement can
Oh.
be really powerful.
Yeah, and if you need a moment to gather your thoughts during the interview, don't be afraid to pause.
Oh, that's a good tip.
It's much better to take a breath and give a thoughtful answer than to rush into something you might regret.
And again, this is where practicing with those RoleCatcher mock interviews
Yeah.
can be so valuable.
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect.
Okay, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they get ready for their interview?
I think we've equipped them with a lot of information and strategies.
We have.
They know the role, they've practiced their answers, and they have the power of RoleCatcher's AI in their corner.
Yeah, they're ready to shine.
And remember, this isn't just about getting a job. It's about potentially stepping into a role where you can really make a difference.
Okay.
Think about those positive interactions that you can have,
Mm-hmm.
even when enforcing regulations.
Right.
How can you be that reassuring presence, a helpful resource,
Okay.
a face of fairness and respect?
That's something to carry with us throughout this process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So go into that interview with confidence, authenticity, and that genuine desire to make a positive impact.
We're rooting for you. Good luck.